Hello, everybody. Valentin Todorow from Elire here. Today, we're going to look at the supervisor architecture type for your agent teams. We'll quickly start with this slide. First, we'll look at a single agent team calling a single worker agent. Okay, this is great if you have a very narrow scope of what you're doing, where you want to call just a specific set of tools, be them documents, business objects, or external APIs, and very set specific type of topics and guardrails for that agent. And that's all that agent would be specifically designed to handle. And then the interaction with that agent from the end user would be a very narrow scope. And that's where you would just have a singular agent team calling a single worker agent, and all of the various tools, topics, and the prompt structure that's tied to that specific agent. Again, very, very narrowed and very specific to what it does. Within AI Agent Studio, there is also the multi-agent capability where you do have a supervisor. Okay, and this supervisor has its own prompt instructions of how it calls various agents. So you'll have the agent team as kind of the top layer of the onion. Then you have the supervisor, and that supervisor understands, based on the question and the topic that was injected as part of the request, the intent of that user, it will route it to a specific agent based on the task. So one agent could be an HR-specific agent. It's got interconnections with the HR type of business object, documentation. Maybe you have policy documents or procedural documents that are HR specific. Those will be handled by the agent itself, whereas agent 2 could be a benefits agent, and its expertise, its topics, its domain documents and tools that it calls and business objects are housed within that agent. And this is a great architecture because you can physically test and structure each of the agents to be, narrowed specific to it, but then the supervisor will route that request based on what the initial user intent is within the architecture. This is, again, when you are starting to layer these, supervisor is the way to go. And we're going to look at that here within AI Agent Studio. So we're going to jump into Agent Studio. We're going to go to that second tab, which is the agent team. And within here, we're going to create a new agent. Okay, so we're going to call this just a basic single worker agent. Okay, it's going to automatically give us the agent code. We're going to just tie it to a family and product. And you'll see again here, these are the new features of 25D going forward. The first one, and this was available in 25C as well, is a supervisor type. Max number of interactions, and just a description. I'm not going to fill in a description for time's sake. There's some new capabilities, of course, at the top with 25D. You can now choose a different kind of LLM provider. Again, these are the intent, the prompt instructions, any vectorized data from RAG gets sent to this. It effectively is the brain of the operation, and it takes action based on all of those pieces of information and proceeds. You have security you can add, starter questions. So if you do want to have some prescribed questions, you can do that as well, and some follow-up. And then input variables as well if you have those. So we'll create this agent. And within this agent, you'll see that there's nothing there. The basic structure where you have a single agent being called, we would come in here, we'll select any given agent. Maybe it's transferring order number. And when you do select the agent and add it, you'll see that this agent team is only calling that narrow scope of an individual agent. That individual agent, of course, has its own role and instructions and output, guardrails, whatever it may be, and it has its own tools, okay? And you can easily publish this and test this, and you can, of course, play this. I would always, debug and try it out. If you had some starter questions, that'd be listed as well. You also, within this debug mode, will actually see what logic it took in these little yellow windows and what LLM calls or tools that it did, okay? Now we can step this up and actually create this as a supervisor architecture. At the top here within the agent slide out, you'll also see that you can add a new supervisor agent. Again, we'll add it. We'll call this the super. Okay, it's going to give it agent team. And again, the same structure you'll call, we'll align it with the family and product, number of a description, obviously give it a much better description. You can give it a persona. I am a supervisor agent that deals with routing requests to one of my smaller worker agents below that. Okay, and here's a prompt. A lot of the work will come into play with the prompt of how it interacts with the user's intent, how it routes and what it routes to each of the agents, and you can route to both of them, right? Maybe it needs to pull data from HR, from benefits, coalesce that, restructure it based on the summarization methods that are provided, be the vanilla ones or the custom prompt methods. You can inject variables and various system parameters into it. You would create it, and you now see, of course, I have to have an LLM in here. We'll create it, and you'll see now we have a supervisor, and then we can add an additional agent in here. So maybe not only do we have this transfer order number, time card processing, okay? We'll add that, and now you'll see that the supervisor has control over both of those agents, worker agents. This is agent worker 1, agent worker 2. Each of these agents has their own prompt and agency and understanding of what they're supposed to do, along with what tools and topics they have. And then the supervisor is kind of in charge of orchestrating the intent from the user's prompt to those agents, coalescing all of the output into a good output response for the end user. Okay, so that's a high-level overview of both a single agent architecture for agent teams and a supervisor architecture for our agent team. Hopefully you guys got some good use out of it, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.